Former Senator Harry Reid has passed away. He was 82 years old. Now, of course, in Democratic politics, he was a massive figure, especially during the Obama years. People are saying in Nevada, he's like the most important politician of the modern era. And people are sort of seeing him off with stories of their experiences with him. Ryan Grimm, friend of the network, had experiences with him. I even learned a little bit in some of the obituaries that are being written now. Like in the New York Times, they wrote up, this is an amazing turn of phrase. He was raised in almost Dickensian circumstances in tiny Searchlight, Nevada. His home had no indoor plumbing. His father was an alcoholic miner who eventually died by suicide, and his mother helped the family survive by taking in laundry from local brothels. And then he rose, of course, to become, an incredibly powerful politician in the Senate among the Democrats. JR, most of his time, like as a political figure, was pre me being involved in this, but I know you obviously were there during the big years of Harry Reid. What do you think about him passing?
Yeah, it's a profile. What we always knew about Harry Reid was he was the nice guy, right? Mm-hmm. And especially as a politician in the Senate, when people talk about the unprecedented level of division in the country now, and maybe it is, maybe because society and social media and access to what people say and do is a lot more prevalent than back when Harry Reid was in the Senate and majority leader. But the thing is, people, I think, are beginning to see how all this has worked before, and just there's gonna be a lot of revisionist history in remembering what he did and didn't do. But one thing that's been across all of these obituaries is how nice of a guy he was.
Yeah.
And maybe that doesn't always work when it comes to getting something done or agenda passed. Now, he did do things like in the whole filibuster thing at the end of a term right before the midterms, and then hand over a bunch of, so who knows how much of that. So at the time when Cenk and all of us were screaming about that, it was like, see the weakness. Cenk was just talking about this yesterday because we saw this news break at the end of the show. And so it was the same type of thought process, like, yeah, this sweet guy and everybody loved him, which is fine, but you can remember that part about his character and personality, which is great. Everyone loved the guy. It seemed like even opponents. And then, but we have to look at his effect on how now much of the Democratic Party approaches politics and agenda, and their approach to how they get things done. And it's very similar. It's very piece by piece. Obama said he's the reason I'm here. All that stuff. It's greatness fawning.
Yeah.
There's good and there's bad, like anyone else.
Yeah, it is interesting, like how universally people are seemingly okay. Like I'm sure if you look, you can probably find some insane people, but this isn't like a Dick Cheney thing. This isn't like a Scalia. This is like, to jump ahead. Here's a contrast I want to give you. So how broad the approval is. So this is a tweet from AOC who said, sometimes at a quiet or difficult moment, Harry Reid would reach out. It was like he knew. His counsel, encouragement, kindness, and generosity was so deeply moving. It was sincere, and I will never forget it. Thank you, Senator Reid, wishing peace and strength to his family. So that's AOC, a progressive Democrat. Donald Trump had written him a letter saying, congratulations, you are amazing. Now, granted, that was a while ago. But Mitch McConnell said after he passed, the nature of Harry's and my jobs brought us into frequent and sometimes intense conflict over policy and politics. But I never doubted that Harry was always doing what he earnestly, deeply felt was right for Nevada and our country. He will rightly go down in history as a crucial, pivotal figure in the development and history of his beloved home state. So normally for me, because I'm a cynic, I didn't start that way, but American politics did that to me. When people broadly are really nice to a politician after they die, I imagine it's because they did what our political system wants. Mm-hmm. Now, there are lots of progressives who have had interactions with him over years that have said that he is not an example of that sort of thing. I'm just so naturally cynical at this point that I don't know, it's hard to accept that, especially because of the experience of the Obama years of how, yes, they accomplished some things, but so clearly could have accomplished so much more if they had chosen to.
Yeah. I want you really fast. I don't know what how much time, but the thing is also the reason you honor people like this is because they were known and maybe they did a lot for the country. Yeah. And for whatever reason, great. But there's people you talked earlier. People die every day. Normal folks that are great character people, but we kind of brush over it because we're not worried about their legacy. The reason we honor them and their character and people like Harry Reid is because we want to preserve their legacy. Why is his legacy so important so we can continue to have the same process that we have?
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.